Hi, I'm Red, and today we're going to be going over the Holy Priest Mythic Plus talent recommendations for The War Within Season 2. Hopefully this guide is a little more detailed than the Icyveins and the Wowhead talent guides, but I would encourage you to go look at those as well. So I compiled a list of 3 main builds that are used by the top 10 priests on Raider.io, and then there's 2 builds that are a little less meta, but I think they could work as well. So first I wanted to talk about the priest talent tree. There are a bunch of talents that almost everyone uses all the time, and then there are some like conditional talent picks. The blue talent points are the ones I would consider to drop in favor of these other talent points in orange or red. The one right here, Words of the Pious, this is really like an oracle only talent point. So when you cast Prayer of Mending as an oracle, it's going to apply Power Word Shield. And if you have Words of the Pious, that's going to make your Smite and Holy Nova do 10% more damage. So you have to hard cast Power Word Shield to get this buff as an Archon, so it's really an Oracle only talent. Okay, so to help you choose which dungeons you want to take which conditional talent points, I have a little list right here. So Leap of Faith, I think you can safely not take that dungeon in most of the dungeons, but there are 4 that are it's pretty okay. So Workshop, the first boss has a knockback and it knocks the player up. And if you use Leap of Faith on a melee player during that knockup, then it can give them an increased DPS, so I think it's pretty worth it. The second use in Workshop is somebody can like fall during the skip after the Cujo dog, and it's just nice to be able to grip them up and save some time. The second place is Rookery, and at very high levels there's a skip where you need to levitate down to the platform after the after the second boss before the third boss, and if somebody like messes up and they don't land on the platform, it's nice to have Leap of Faith there. Third is Motherload. It's very useful on the first boss trash where the bruiser guys, they like charge at you and knock you up, and it's nice to be able to grip a DPS back into melee so that they can keep doing damage. And then in Floodgate there's another skip where you might need Leap of Faith, but that's kind of like route dependent, so it's really Workshop, Motherload, and maybe Rookery. Next is the Disease Dispel. There's a disease in Theater of Pain and Darkflame Cleft, but I don't see any reason at all to take it in Darkflame Cleft. Third is Mind Control. Mechagon Workshop has a Mind Control, and Cinderbrew has a Mind Control. I have a video already out on Mechagon Workshop Mind Control, and hopefully I'll have a video out on Cinderbrew Metery Mind Control in the next couple days, so I'll try to put that in the description along with the Mind Control for Workshop. Third is the Snare Removal. This is pretty good on Cinderbrew, Priory, and sometimes Floodgate. I don't take it on Floodgate, but some other people do. And Priory, it's really good on the second boss. So the second boss, like when they cast Castigator's Shield, and if you use Fade like right after Castigator's Shield, it'll remove that slow and you can get out of Castigator's Shield's circle faster, and that'll allow you to start healing up before they start popping that big thing. Cinderbrew, you're already taking Mind Control, and there also is a mob right before the B boss, and he will slow you, and it's a little bit nasty, like because you sometimes have to dodge as well, so it's pretty good there. And then the last is Mass Dispel. I would take this on every dungeon except for Motherload, but I also take it on Motherload, so yeah, those are the utility talents. Okay, so before we get into the talent builds, there's 2 things I really wanted to mention. A lot of priests are using the cheat death instead of Guardian Spirit cooldown reduction. I would encourage you to like look into doing that. The second is my little system for saying which is a flex talent point and which you should flex into. So generally blue talent points I'd say flex out of these and flex into these other ones. You can drop Empowered Renew and get Divine Hymn cooldown reduction, or the Empowered Divine Hymn. You could also get Cosmic Ripple if you wanted some more consistent throughput. And those are the 2 real main points I would flex in Archon Prayer of Healing. And then at the bottom of the tree, you could flex out of Holy Serenity and get Prismatic Echoes if you like happen to have a whole lot of mastery. As Oracle, there is one difference. This should be different here. This should be orange and this should be blue. This should be almost taken most of the time as Oracle because you have such increased healing on your Prayer of Mending. And then you could flex out of the Empowered Divine Hymn for Cosmic Ripple if you want just like more passive throughput. Okay, so now I want to talk about like what conditions you should be casting Prayer of Healing under. So there are 3 buffs to really worry about. You have Lightweaver, increases your healing by 30% and also reduces the cast time. Second is Resonant Words, that's 40%, so 40 plus 18, that's 58%. Third is Prayer Circle, so after you cast Yellow Holy Word, it reduces the mana cost. So we'll look at the mana cost, it's 125,000. But if I cast a yellow holy word, it goes down to 100,000. And then the last thing to really worry about is divinity. So if you're talented into this, after you cast Apotheosis, your next 3 Prayer of Healings are going to be instant, or it could be your next 3 heals, but you might be using it on Prayer of Healing. And they also will do 25% more healing. They're like really insanely strong. A divinity empowered Prayer of Healing with Resonant Words and Lightweaver, and then maybe Prayer Circle probably just for the mana cost. Like that is going to hit like a truck. That does like 40% more than a regular heal. So it's very, very strong. You really want to try to like make sure that you have your Lightweaver stacks up when you're doing this. And like say big AoE happens, I'll cast a yellow holy word, cast a Prayer of Healing, cast a blue holy word, cast a Prayer of Healing, maybe I'll cast a Chastise, cast a Prayer of Healing, cast another blue holy word, cast a Prayer of Healing. Maybe I'll cast 2 just to get it back on off cooldown. Cast my Empowered Renew, reduce the cooldown further. But you really want to almost always, anytime you're casting a Prayer of Healing, you want to have Resonant Words. Because it is such an expensive spell. Like you really don't want to be using it willy-nilly. It's very expensive and you're going to run out of mana. So Resonant Words like makes it actually worthwhile to cast. And on the topic of mana, I would encourage you to use Cinder Nectar instead of Mana Buns. Like, Mana Buns, they ramp up. They don't give you the maximum amount of mana per second right when you start drinking. But Cinder Nectar gives you the maximum amount of mana right when you start drinking. So say the pack ends, you start drinking, you're going to be up to like 40% within like 5 seconds, and that's pretty good. And using this Prayer of Healing build, you will run out of mana. Okay, so the next build I wanted to talk about is the Renew build. So the main flex point I would say is instead of, if you don't think you need Empowered Divine Hymn, I would drop that and get Holy Mending. This will be like 2% overall healing, and anytime your Prayer of Mending bounces to a target with Renew, it's going to heal them a little bit extra. It's like 10% of the heal of Renew. It's like 20,000 and Renew heals like 400,000 or something like that, so it's like a 10% increase in throughput. It's pretty solid. And if you want more passive healing, go for this. If you want the active on-demand big fat divine hymn, get this. Talent points at the bottom that you could flex out of is the increased healing on your yellow and blue holy words. If you want to have more holy words and they to be a little less powerful, get Holy Serenity. If you want to have Divinity because you really are attached to that, then get Divinity. So this is the main build I use, and I think the flex point is to drop Holy Mending if you want super powered Divine Hymn, or, I mean, I don't really think this is that good of a flex, but you could put it into the regular heal increase when you're low mana. Okay, so I wanted to talk about what really makes this Renew build work. So Lasting Words is very strong, and it applies Renew whenever you cast a holy word. And Empowered Renew looks simple on paper, but it's a little bit complicated, and I'm going to explain how you can kind of like game this talent to do more. So I have a Weakaura that shows me, so I'm going to cast a blue holy word on myself, and you see this bar at the top of my health? That is my Renew tracker. So I have 10 seconds of Renew on myself, and it's ticking down slowly. Now, if I cast a regular Empowered Renew, I hard cast Renew, it's going to be an Empowered Renew, which is going to be doing double healing. So the way that Renew works is anytime you refresh Empowered Renew with one of these talents, either Lasting Words or Benediction, it's going to apply an increased duration to your Empowered Renew. So what that allows you to do is you can have like Empowered Renew on 5 players at once. Whereas if you don't take Lasting Words, it's not really realistic to get Empowered Renew on 5 players. You'll have it on 1 or 2 players at a time. So to game this, like let's say I have a blue holy word on or I have a regular Renew on myself, and there is somebody without Renew. I'm going to cast Empowered Renew on the person with a regular Renew to extend the duration, and now I'm at 22 seconds of Empowered Renew, whereas baseline it's like 20 seconds, right? So you always want to be casting Empowered Renew on cooldown, and you want to be casting it on somebody who does not have Empowered Renew. That's why this Weakaura is so important, so that you can remember who has Empowered Renew and who has a regular Renew. You can cast Empowered Renew on somebody who has regular Renew, and it will convert it to an Empowered Renew. you can cast a Holy Word on somebody who has an Empowered Renew, and it will extend the duration of that Empowered Renew. So that's kind of the gameplay loop that you want to try to focus on to make sure that you have high Empowered Renew uptime. If you have you can have like 85% uptime on Renew during a dungeon. It is really, really strong, and it can do literally your top healing. Depending on your stats, like if you have high haste, high crit, or high haste, high verse, Renew literally will be your top heal. If you have high mastery like myself, because I have a lot of raid gear, Echo of Light will probably be your top healing, and because you're talented into Prismatic Echoes, it's going to be buffed even further. But I mean, just the same, when I run this build, Renew is like my second or third, yeah, sometimes fourth, but usually second or third most healing. Okay, so the last main build that high level priests are using, I use this build in Cinderbrew metering, is the single target build. So I think this is the easiest build there is. I think this is the easiest healer gameplay in the game. All you have to worry about is casting heal, flash heal, holy words. That's basically it. Oh, and Prayer of Mending, of course. If you're brand new to Holy Priest, use this build. And I would encourage you to go look at my original guide that I made like a month ago. That guide really goes over like rotational stuff, and it is still absolutely up to date for this build. Also, if you're new, I would suggest play Archon instead of Oracle. Start with Archon, learn the basics. Once you're comfortable with the spec, move on to Oracle. Most of the high level Holy Priests have switched over to Oracle after all the buffs, but there are still a couple people who are holding out and playing Archon. Archon is viable at the highest level, Oracle is viable at the highest level. Okay, so the Oracle single target build, I have the flex points here. So I'd flex out of this heal empowered right here, which makes you do more healing when you're at low mana with the spell called Heal. And I would flex into 2-minute Divine Hymn, or I would flex into super powered 3-minute Divine Hymn. Another thing you can do is if you're new, you can say, look, I want to make sure I have a way to get my yellow holy word off cooldown that isn't just Empowered Renew. So you can take 1 point into Prayer of Healing, and if you're like really like you have AoE coming up and you don't have a yellow holy word, you might want to like cast a couple Prayer of Healings right before the damage comes out. That builds up mastery on the group, and then you can have your yellow holy word for when you really need it. Okay, so the last build I wanted to talk about is the Prayer of Mending build. The difference in this build is we don't take Lightweaver, and instead we take the extra Prayer of Mending talents. Oh, and this should be orange. You'd flex out of this and into this if you really wanted that, but I would try to keep this point. I think it's a little more important than this. So the big thing about this build is you're going to be getting free Apotheosis. Like, it's not random, but it is a little bit random. It's like once your Prayer of Mending bounces 50 times, it's going to proc Apotheosis. And if you have Eternal Sanctity, then every time you proc Apotheosis, that's 8 seconds, plus a second every time you cast a Holy Word. So instead of 8 seconds, it's like 12, maybe 14 seconds of Apotheosis uptime, which is going to save you a considerable amount of mana, because your Holy Words are free during Apotheosis. So that kind of offsets the Lightweaver mana savings that you have, and you get, instead of Lightweaver mana savings, you get mana savings on your Holy Words. This build is very simple. Instead of having to worry about Lightweaver, all you have to worry about is heal, flash heal, and holy words. And really the only proc you actually have to worry about is resonant words. Every time you cast a holy word, you want to be casting a flash heal in between. So holy word, flash heal, holy word, flash heal, holy word, flash heal. We'll do a chastise, flash heal. I mean, and you can just keep going for days. And also try to keep your prayer mending on cooldown. Okay, so the final build I want to talk about is the meme DPS build. I think it's pretty fun. I probably actually should have, instead of Holy Mending, you should have 2-minute Divine Hymn, because if you're doing the meme DPS build, you want to have Divine Hymn on a shorter cooldown, so if you actually get in trouble because you were just trying to do damage like a monkey, then, you know, you want to have Divine Hymn as a recovery. This build utilizes Answered Prayers, so you have that increased Apotheosis. It also utilizes Divine Word. So this spell, you can use it for damage or for healing. When you activate this spell, it makes your next holy word give you a different buff. So if you need extra healing, you'd activate Divine Word, and then you would use a blue holy word. What that would do is give you a 15-second healing buff on your blue holy word. Okay, so last thing I wanted to do was go over the little damage rotation. So going into the poll, you want to make sure you have Prayer of Mending off cooldown. So Prayer of Mending is on cooldown. Gonna cast a Halo, do the damage, proc my trinket and my Power Infusion. After I get my second Holy Word Chastise off cooldown, I'm going to go into Apotheosis. And I'm just casting Holy Fire. So Chastise is first on priority, then Holy Fire, then Holy Nova. So it's very, very simple. Chastise, Holy Fire, or Holy Nova. And what I'm doing here is I'm trying to spread out my my Holy Fires so that it's not all on the same target. Because if it is on the same target, what you're going to end up with is a target without, like, the target's going to live and your Holy Fire is going to, they're going to die and they're going to have like 20 seconds of Holy Fire on them. So you want to like spread it out. Like generally speaking, you should try to use Holy Fire on the highest health target because that's the most important mob. But if that mob is going to die, you can spread it out a little bit and, you know, do some good things. So yeah, just use Divine Word, use Chastise, uh, use Halo, go into your Chastise, Holy Fire, Smite. One thing I wanted to talk about before the video ends is getting the Empowered Renew set up. So the link that I sent in the description is to an old version. You see right here, there's a new version, 1.0.4, and then maybe the latest version actually works, but the version 1.0.4, I couldn't get that to work on my character. Okay, so setting up this thing, you see right here is the renew bar, and it's ticking down. You have to like adjust the size, like the baseline size is like this, so you gotta like shrink it down to whatever size you want, and you go into the options right here, position and size setting, and right now I have it anchored to the top of the frame, and I have a slight X offset and a slight Y offset. So that's how I have it set up, and it works for me. If you have troubles with that Weakaura, like, put a comment and I'll try to help troubleshoot what's going on. But like the main thing is you just need to go in, make the size smaller, go into position and size settings under display, make sure it's anchored to the unit frames, make sure it's anchored to wherever you want it. You might want it at the bottom, you might want it at the top, and then you can fine tune the exact positioning with this X offset and Y offset.